Thanks for staying with us. This is Daybreak. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. On my immediate right is Professor Noah Medamba, Senior Associate at Glossip's and Foreign Policy Plus, Foreign Diplomacy, Foreign Policy and Security Commentator. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning. Defense and Foreign Policy.
Defense and Foreign Policy.
Thank you.
Commentator. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For your time. Also, we are joined by Ahmed Ashi. He is a commentator on diplomacy, foreign policy as well. Good morning, Ahmed.
Good morning, Ayub. I'm delighted to be back here again.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. And shortly we'll be joined by Professor Peter Kagwanja, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Africa Policy Institute, and Ronald Ebole, who is a researcher with Amnesty International, focusing on Tanzania and Uganda in the East African community. Gentlemen, let's begin with tomorrow's elections in Tanzania. The first time, Prof, coming to you first, President Samia Suluhu Hassan will be facing the ballot since her ascension to power in 2021. What do you make of the elections?
Well, Ayub, let's go back to the basis of what these elections are all about. And I was looking at what is one thing that holds democracy together. And I look at the history of the UK, the British, since 1220, 760 years, consistent democracy. And then I look at America democracy, which is called Jeffersonian democracy. And you have 230 years of the consistent democracy. And then, recent Chinese is about 47 years, recent development in China. And then Africa has been around for 68 years, okay, till today. Yeah. So the most important thing, my friend, is the strong judiciary, is the consistent fabric that lock everything together. And once you play with that around, like we're doing in Africa, you lose it. The rule of law, protection of human rights, individual, and check on the executive. And that's one thing that is consistent. But in Africa, we play with it. And so I was with the last point. I was with Magufuli. There is a fellow from Professor Julian from Trinidad and Tobago, was one of his advisors. And in that room, we were talking about resources and everything. And he said he chose a woman. Because Julian asked him, why did you choose a woman? He said, we men have failed. And maybe women are promised to uphold democracy, fundamental. And he talked so nice about Julius Nyerere and what Julius Nyerere, the foundation that Julius Nyerere laid. And he said that his hope is to leave power in the hand of someone that will follow Julius Nyerere. So the question is, this is going to be a test. The question is he going to hold the democratic fundamental, the balance of power which is required? So we have to watch that very carefully.
Okay. And Prof, good morning.
Good morning.
Lovely having you here on the broadcast.
Thank you.
Many thanks.
I've just come from Tanzania.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was in northern Tanzania.
Oh.
The air is good, but there's tension about what's going on. Yeah.
And you didn't have your driver this morning?
Yeah, he overslept.
You can drive yourself.
No, I did. Actually, I did.
Good.
I brought myself here.
Yeah. So welcome. Good morning, Prof. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Ahmed, coming to you.
Yes.
Professor Medamba mentions the place of institutions in democracies. But here's the thing, though. I mean, talking about the credibility of the polls, how would that be possible when there is an outright control in the case of Tanzania because of Chama cha Mapinduzi, the Revolutionary Party, which controls key institutions in Tanzania, including the judiciary and the Electoral Commission, whose members are picked by the president?
The Tanzanian experience is very close to, and has been derived from, Maoism in China. But it has been brought closer to the earth of the Tanzanian political experience. Tanzania is effectively still a one-party state. And it is made up of cadres. It is made up of a political society in which the state elites are afraid that if they import something called a constitution, if they import the political culture of electoral democracy, if they import the culture of opening up the political space, what is going to happen is what's happening in Kenya. Tribalism, nepotism. Do you know that the president of Tanzania is from Zanzibar? Yep. It's a union between two. The president of Zanzibar is from Zanzibar. They're Muslims. One's a hijabi. She came from a very small village there in Zanzibar. Nowhere in Africa can this happen.
Yep.
There's nowhere in Africa this. You've seen the elections in Cameroon, where Mr. Paul Biya, who is a geriatric who cannot walk, has won another election through the Electoral Commission. Now, notwithstanding Tanzania's great strides on issues of social cohesion, on issues of culture, on issues of keeping a African society without too much of these ethnic divisions, there are great successes. But the most important success in any country is the ability of the individual to get elected, to start a company, to be an entrepreneur, political, economic, social, cultural, to have the ability to be willy-nilly free in their society. Now, it's going to take us a long way to get there. Tanzania, I think, is taken on the question of politics, has taken a wrong path from a Kenyan perspective. From a Kenyan perspective. But it does not in any way delegitimize the fact that a one-party state can work, that it can produce an economy, and it can get its society to live in the standards of living that are the best in the world. China is an example. I disagree with it, as Ahmed, because I feel that democratic government is the best form of government. But I think that the social formations in Tanzania have now transformed. And how have they transformed? They've transformed in one way because 80% of the population doesn't know who, or doesn't remember who Julius Nyerere was, or Oscar Kambona was, or the great leader who became Prime Minister, Sokoine. I remember that, you remember that, and he remembers that. I remember it by way of history. Now, I think that the President of Tanzania has just taken absolutely the wrong direction, but it is not her. It is the bulwark and the political party called the Chama cha Mapinduzi that's behind her that's doing this.
Okay. Prof, coming to you. Last time here you extrapolated two ideas. Dictatorships that work and democracies that don't.
That don't.
And democracies that work and dictatorships that don't.
Exactly what I was saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Ahmed has pointed out the question of the economy. And Tanzania has achieved annual GDP growth of 6% on average for the past 2 decades.
Yes.
I mean here, but you realize that in this electoral contest, the main opposition parties, Chadema first and the second, ACT Wazalendo, have been locked out of the race. So with what prism should we be looking at the polls?
Well, Tanzania's problem is not necessarily the party, because most liberation parties that govern well survive. For example, we have ANC, but which has progressively been eroded. We have ZANU-PF in Zimbabwe, which is still the dominant party. We also have, SWAPO, the Southwestern Party, which is governing Namibia. And we can go on and on in Southern Africa mentioning parties that have governed. The problem with the Tanzanian party is that from the beginning it missed the economic equation.
Yeah.
And Nyerere mentioned it. Nyerere left a country that was united politically, or it appeared, and which was extremely weak economically. There is no way you should be comparing Tanzania with Kenya, given their resources, their endowment, and everything they have. It's first and foremost an indication of failure from that perspective. So their failure has never been political up to this point. It has always been economic. And that is where the model of dictatorship and progress has failed to work in Tanzania. Because if it did, then we would not be having Chademas and others gaining the kind of popularity they have.
Exactly.
This particular season, I can tell you, if Suluhu did not turn the way she did, and I guess that was also why Magufuli, the predecessor, had turned that way, they would not, CCM would not have won this election, given the tide. So there is that first aspect. But why is it happening? I know in Kenya we have two kinds of thinking that's governing us. One is what we call Tanzania Firia, which is expressed by my brother here. Oh, Tanzania is united, Tanzania is this, but which is not true. The northern part of Tanzania, the Chaga, the Maasais, all the way up to Arusha and Gorogoro and all those places. And I'm talking about that from a research perspective. I had a project in Tanzania, in the Eastern Africa, comparing Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania, and Burundi and Uganda. And we held meetings in all those countries. And one of the things that came out from institutes from Zanzibar to wherever is the issue of discrimination, the feeling of ethnic discrimination, particularly among the Chaga, among the Maasai, among the Pare, and the communities. But as a nation, they project themselves and they know what they need to do, not as Tanzanians, but they still that. You remember the problem between Kenya and Tanzania under Magufuli was simply that Kenya seemed to have supported the opposition leader because he's a Maasai, and he came to Suswa Narok to be crowned by fellow Maasais. And Tanzania took offense because Kenya should not have done that. So there is still tribalism. Let's not belittle that. But then there is a Tanzania phobia, Tanzania Firia here within the country. That's the Firia we have gotten here. There is a phobia, particularly from the business community, that sees Tanzania pedaling backward rather than forward. We are singing the anthem of the community. We are doing everything, issuing a single visa for the country, for ourselves, and we have a single passport. We are having everything gelling together. Then Tanzania begin to backpedal. Why? I have said this before. Tanzania is loyal to the South than to us. Why? Because CCM identifies with liberation parties down there. ZANU-PF identifies with the SWAPO, identifies with the ANC. All these, because in Southern Africa, liberation parties are still at the helm. If it is Mozambique, it's the other way around. So what is the point? The point is that Tanzania is not ready for democracy, and it does not have a model for development. Therefore, it falls within the fourth category, where you have authoritarianism without development, and therefore, as that deepens, the people become more restive, and people begin to oppose the main party. What is the response of the Tanzanian government? To put everybody in jail. Put everybody in jail.
Yeah, Ahmed, I'll come to you. Prof, here's the thing, and we'll of course, mesh this up with apartheid and why they seem to be more or less providing a soft landing spot for the South than the East African community. But Prof, coming to this, in a continent where, and this is the context in Tanzania, Ahmed mentioned that a majority of young Tanzanians do not relate with, for instance, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere. However, if you look at the growing age, median age of the African population, we are talking between 19 and 34 years. But how does it work in the context of many African states? For instance, BI in Cameroon is 92.
Yep.
His Attorney General is 80 plus.
Yep.
The Minister for Interior is 78. Average of his cabinet is about 78 to 85 years. I mean, how does the political elite, the polity in Africa, relate with young African voices who are demanding for good governance in the context of the Tanzanian elections?
Good question.
Ayub, you're bringing a very good question, which is really not only a threat, but a puzzle to the political class. From where I stand, it is not the age. It is how you transform yourself. And we can understand why Raila related to these young people. It is your deed. It is your history. It is how you practice your politics. And Julius Nyerere left a country that, you can say united, not united, but much better than most African countries. And I was there because Magufuli had a real great admiration for Julius Nyerere. And there was a question of Tanzanian gas field. Tanzania is one of the largest gas fields. And it had let it to, the British, the Americans, for almost 60 years, which means Tanzania had no gas. And the benefit was going to be very small compared to what these people are saying. So the Magufuli hired my friend from Trinidad and Tobago, to come over, take a look, because this one guy is a top specialist in that field. And when he presented his report to the president, he asked me to come along. And Magufuli asked him, what is the situation? He said, you don't have control over your gas field. It's been sold, by the British, Canadians and everybody. And he looked really, really, mad. And then he asked, what can we do? And Julian asked him to buy back all what these people have done before they dig the ground. He did. And so Tanzania is one of the only countries that has control of its gas resources when others don't have it. From north to south to west, we don't have control of our gas resources. So the issue of Tanzania remaining behind in terms of development trajectory, it is the practice, it is the person who's responsible. How is this lady able to transform the country like what China has done in 47 years?
Okay.
So inability to do that demonstrates serious weakness. Then they are suppressing democracy. And so that is an indication that we really have a problem.
Yes, Ahmed.
So the function of prayer is not to influence God. It is to change the nature of the person who is praying. It's to change. You can't influence God. And I put it to you, Professor, that the function of politics in African political economy is not to influence our state, but to change its nature. Now, the nature of our post-colonial state is the problem. The nature of a bureaucracy, a judiciary, and a political administration has come out of political and economic struggles in the European theater, the American theater, in a liberal democratic system in which the classes fought over power. The social formations we have in our country and in Tanzania and in the rest of the region, and I completely disagree with my senior and my teacher, Peter Kagwanja, on the question of Tanzania. Tanzania is a miracle country in Africa. Its president, Julius Nyerere, was a miracle president. They have nearly 100 ethnic groups. And notwithstanding Chagas and notwithstanding 62, notwithstanding all these points, it is the Chagas who made Nyerere president, the chief of the Chagas in Mount Kilimanjaro. They said, no, we are going to build you, we're going to make you president, and we don't want this tribalism here because Tanzania is too big for it to fall. So I think the experiment, their social experiments and their ideological bend and their Pan-Africanist credentials, as my senior was speaking about the liberation movements in the South, is something that we should be proud of. Because while we were here, Charles Njonjo, the late Charles Njonjo, was bringing apartheid South Africa here. He wanted to bring pig butter here. Yeah. It's a fact, it's a historical fact. So I don't think we should gainsay Tanzanians over the issue of struggle. But the social formations that are here today in Tanzania are different from the ones who are past. And what do they want? They want Netflix. They want jobs. They want movies. They want to go out to restaurants. They want to be able to drive their cars in a highway. They want to be like their counterparts everywhere else. And that is what Kenya's Gen Zs are also looking for. They want to come to the modern world and live in their countries in a way that is respectful, that is dignified. And for the last 50 years, what have we done? We have not delivered the issues of the post-colonial state. You can see Paul Biya, as you were mentioning. The country is named after Portuguese shrimps. You know, the word Cameroon, it's Portuguese. It means shrimps. Maybe the first thing that Cameroon needs to do is to change the name of the country. Okay. So I think that and I'm going to end with this, is to understand that there is a tectonic shift in the social formations of these societies. And what is coming is fundamental change, just like has happened here in Kenya.
Thank you. And when we get back from the break, Prof, we'll proceed with this discussion an hour to talk about this. And by extension, of course, what Prof has mentioned, the nationalization of resources. And that was the particular example of Mohammed Mossadegh, who was kicked out by the CIA and the British intelligence for the nationalization of the Iranian oil, installing the Shah regime, which was toppled, and the creation of the Republic of Iran in 1979, to be specific. Ronald Ebole has joined us, and I'll be taking his account first after the break here on the broadcast. He is the researcher in East Africa with Amnesty International, with specific focus on Uganda and Tanzania. He will tell us more about the state of human rights, including the state of the opposition leaders imprisoned in Tanzania and who have been disqualified from the electoral contest. All that is after the break here on the broadcast. Stay tuned.